what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile and look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.
The mayor,
as you fade away,
the re-elected mayor of Loserville.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today.
Okay, cut that music, welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football, and if you do as well, if you love everything in college football, please subscribe to our channel, smash the like button if you like our content, share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this college football's rebel outpost, if you want to support the home for the college football sickos with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Hit that $. where you make your comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio, which sits in the middle of Loserville City. Welcome everybody that sits in the studio, that sits in the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. This is not going to be your usual aftermath. Every Sunday during the season, we at College Football Peek Around the Corner, we do an aftermath show. We talk about what just happened. And we're going to do all that. We're going to go through the games as quickly as possible. We're going to talk about the great performances, some weird performances. We're going to do all that. But, and it's a big old but. You know, we hey, Dylan Raiola was fantastic, Skaven, yes. Dylan Raiola, he went, 30 of 40 with that pass rush going down on him. The Nebraska Cornhuskers, they do not have offensive tackles. They can't block anybody. Dylan Raiola was absolutely fantastic. We're going to talk a little bit about that game. Kansas State didn't lose. The Hoosiers dominated. Indiana's very talented. Indiana is very, very talented. I would get a copy strike on that, Sean. I would get a copy strike on that. We got a super chat. We've got to continue. Hold on a second. Super chat, Heartbreak 25. Greg, I just learned that Penn State no longer has a college football team. Please don't talk about us this week. Oh. Well, we are going to talk about you, Heartbreak 25. We are going to talk about the Nittany Lions, but we won't talk about them today. With that upcoming monster. We're not going to talk about it today, but unfortunately, Heartbreak 25, I am going to have to talk about it later this week. And hopefully, if I take Penn State, hopefully, somehow by a miracle, I'm going to switch over to Greg the Gold. Thank you for the $5 holla. Thank you for starting us off today, Heartbreak 25. I very much appreciate your generosity. Today is not going to be your usual aftermath show. We're going to spend a lot of time on what just happened yesterday. But we do have to talk about Big Ten expansion. We have to. I mean, we have to. I know a lot of you want to talk the aftermath. But we got to talk about it. Because it's important that we talk about it. I just, here at Peek Around the Corner, I just put out an episode, live show. A lot of you were there. And we talked about the 10 Big Ten expansion candidates. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe there's more, maybe there's a little less. But from what everybody that I have talked to, and from different perches of life, those are the 10 schools that I think, right there. Those 10 schools, Big Ten expansion candidates. Now, could there be a Stanford and a California, especially if Notre Dame gets interested? And maybe there's an Arizona State, but that, I got to be honest, that is not what I've been hearing. It's just, these are the 10 schools. And to be honest, I think Notre Dame, well, let's put that to the side. I still believe that North Carolina and Virginia, I still believe the SEC has the inside track, but the Big Ten will not give up the ghost, will not give up until it's a done deal between Chapel Hill, Virginia, and the SEC. So that's why I've got North Carolina and Virginia as Big Ten candidate, because Big Ten wants them. But I just happen to think the Big Ten will not get them. And I could end up being wrong. I might change my prediction. I might do it. I might come on here 3 days from now and give you an explosive report saying, oh, I think the Big Ten, I think they're going to get Virginia or whatever. So those are the 10 schools. The reason I'm bringing this up again on an aftermath show, it was not planned. It was not planned for me to talk about this today. It wasn't. I promise you, it wasn't. We don't limit our discussion to candidate list and all the variables and the reasons why, the media partner, the markets, the demographics, the research. We also talk timetable, because in life, timing is everything, or most everything. Timing is very important. Relationships, timing. And I've been talking about over the last year, when Florida State and Clemson won those big, massive victory in the courts, I've been talking about a earlier timetable than most when it comes to the next expansion, when it comes to the next disruption, or fluctuation is the word that a particular Big Ten athletic director just used to describe what is about to happen. The next fluctuation. I've been using an earlier timetable. I've been talking about 27, 28. I haven't been really talking about 29, 2030, 31. Lots of reasons for that. Lots of reasons for that. But one of the reasons I've used is that is probably going to be prime window for the Southeastern Conference to move on their top targets, North Carolina and Virginia, for lots of different reasons. But the main reason, not the only reason, but the main reason is because if the Southeastern Conference does it within the next, I've been saying the next 16 months, next 18 months, now it's down to about the next 16 months, that is going to give the best opportunity for the Board of Visitors and whoever is the president of Virginia to make the call, to pull the trigger, to give North Carolina political coverage, for North Carolina to give Virginia political coverage, and they can both join the Southeastern Conference. It is definitely the next 16 months. That is the best window of time. Okay. Now, beyond myself talking like that, I don't think you're hearing that from anybody else, which is fine. But now there's another person who has jumped into the fray. And this person is saying that the next fluctuation, there is going to be more movement. There is going to be a Big Ten expansion. This particular person is saying more fluctuation it could be in 2 days from now or 2 years. This could happen in 2 days, whether it happens in 2 days or in 2 years. Did not say 3 years. Did not say 4 years. Did not say 5 years, in which a whole lot of college football reporters believe that is like somehow none of this can happen before 2030. This particular person said whether it happens in 2 days from now or in 2 years, the next fluctuation is going to happen. This particular person, and this is where it is important, in my humble opinion. Please don't take this wrong. Please don't take this wrong. I know I'm a loser. I know I'm the re-elected mayor of Loserville City. But I think it's particularly important that you hear this from me first. So I want to get this out there before other people start covering it. The person who is saying this is none other than the University of Minnesota athletic director, Mark Coyle. Mark Coyle. Now, a lot of you don't know who Mark Coyle is. A lot of you probably haven't never heard Mark Coyle talk. Mark Coyle, the athletic director of the University of Minnesota, is the most cautious athletic director you will ever find. Mark Coyle is the opposite of being bombastic. Mark Coyle is so careful. Mark Coyle does not win press conferences. Mark Coyle talks very quietly. He's incredibly reserved. This is why it's important for me to talk about it before this gets picked up by other media, college football, YouTube channels, whatever. Because they're not going to be able to put it into the context that we here at PAT. If Mark Coyle is saying this, and he did in a St. Paul Pioneer Press interview with the great Andy Greeter, it just was published this morning. If Mark Coyle is saying this and more, and we'll get to it here in a little bit, then you know that the Big Ten is well beyond having small conversations about what they're going to do in the next Big Ten expansion. This has gone well beyond just mere socializing. This is well beyond that. And the timeline, I mean, it would have been easy. It would have been easy for Mark Coyle to say in the next 2 days or in the next 5 years. You know, it would have been, people would have, He didn't say that. He didn't say in the next 2 days or in the next 4 years or in the next 3 years. He said in 2 days or in the next 2 years. Which happens to fit the timeline that I believe is the chalk. Because of what we believe to be true about the Southeastern Conference and what they're trying to do. So, we are going to go in the back half of this monologue. We are going to go into exactly what Mark Coyle said, the athletic director of Minnesota. But he did not, he again, if you don't believe me, go when you're watching this live show. When you're watching this live show, go ahead and put on a YouTube video of Mark Coyle. He is the most cautious athletic director you're going to find out there. Literally. And he said directly, there's going to be movement. There's going to be Big Ten expansion. There's going to be more fluctuation, whether it's 2 days from now or 2 years from now. Now, when we go through this, I do not think that Mark Coyle, I would not consider Mark Coyle saying, yeah, this is definitely not going to happen in 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. I don't think he's ruling that out. But he definitely is ruling in the possibility of this happening any day from now and within the next 2 years. Because Mark Coyle, if you listen to any interview he's ever been in, any press conference he's ever been in, Mark Coyle chooses his words very, very carefully. Also, I will leave you with this, and then we're going to talk about the games. We are going to talk about the aftermath of week 4, and then we're going to get back into this. We're going to go into the article. I'm going to give you my very strong held opinion thoughts on this. I've been a poking and I've been a prodding this morning on this. I have this is not there may be, for example, the College Football Mafia show, they'll probably cover this tonight. There may be a few other college football YouTube channels that cover this, what Mark Coyle said. But I got a feeling that this is going to be covered, out there nationally at some point. because, again, I'm trying to get this point across, and I'm probably doing a bad job, but Mark Coyle does not say this stuff unless something is in the frying pan, unless the oil has been warmed up. You've cut up your garlic. Something is cooking. Mark Coyle does not use these words unless something is actually cooking. We're not talking about buying groceries here. We're actually talking about something is cooking right now. As you know, we've been saying nothing is done, nothing is settled, right? It's fluid out there. Okay, well, you know, there's only so much time elapses between things are being fluid. In other words, buying your groceries to something is cooking. I mean, at some point, something is going to get done. Something is going to get settled. And I got to tell you, if I get wind of it, if I get told that I can do it, I am going to report it to you all. This is the point that we are at. I am not ready to say that we're in a hot bubble of action. But we're getting damn close. So, we'll get back into it, but let's do the aftermath. Let's talk about these football games. And Ryan Willie, Super Chat. Great. I know you think Fickle is safe this year, but season ticket sales are down 4,000. Attendance is down. The Fire Fickle chants will get louder. I may be wrong. I think he's going to be safe this year. I don't think Wisconsin wants to compound. I look at the history of Wisconsin. I don't think they're going to fire the head coach in midseason. Maybe very late in the season or early after the season. I don't think it's going to happen now. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, Ryan Willie, and I'll take the big L. Thank you for the $5 holla. I do appreciate it. But I just don't think it's happening now. Okay. Let's get into it, guys, because we got to get back into the Big Ten. We got to get back into it. Let's go conference by conference here. Let's talk about this. Oklahoma State, we already talked about that. They lost Friday night, 19-12. Mike Gundy watch is on. Texas Tech and Utah. I do want to talk about this game. We did a watch party on it. Thank you for everybody who joined us yesterday at noon Eastern time. The Red Raiders and the Utah Utes. The Texas Tech Red Raiders impressed the hell out of me. They did exactly what they needed to do in that football game. They loaded up the box. Rodriguez, the great linebacker with 1 million tackles in his career, wasn't going to let Devin Dampier beat him with his legs. The Utah Utes could not play the bully ball. They could not get the linebackers off the line of scrimmage. They could not beat Texas Tech's man press. They could not do it. They just couldn't do it. Devin Dampier could not find the accuracy downfield. The Red Raiders were not scared of it. The Red Raiders were up in front, on their toes, always going forward on defense. It looked a lot like the Michigan Wolverines defense. The Red Raiders are for real. And then what did the Red Raiders do when they hit adversity? They lost their starting quarterback. Will Hammond came in and he played great. Will Hammond, the backup quarterback, he made all the correct decisions. He ran and he can run. He can run that ball. A lot of good throws. One was a kind of a miracle prayer throw that he got in. Will Hammond, the Red Raiders. I left that game so very impressed. And I'll tell you another thing. I think Utah is going to win a lot of games. I still think they're going to win a lot of games this year. But the Red Raiders are going to be right in. They're probably going to make the Big 12 championship game. The Red Raiders can win the Big 12 championship. SMU TCU, very good game. Josh Hoover, even when things are not going okay, you can tell he's a fighter. He's a fighter. They defeat SMU 35-24. UCF, my goodness, blow the doors off the Tar Heels. Kansas 41, West Virginia 10. Kansas is another team that can make the Big 12 championship game. Utah, Kansas, Arizona State, BYU, of course, Iowa State. West Virginia, they're going to, this year is about Rich Rod figuring out what they need for next year. That's what this year is all about for the people at Morgantown. This year, Kansas, 6-year senior quarterback. The Jayhawks are going to make a run. Arizona State, my goodness, wins a close one against Baylor. Big win for the Sun Devils. BYU looked impressive as hell. BYU looked impressive. Road victory number 1 for the true freshman quarterback, Bear Bachmeier, and that defense, of course, is legit in Colorado. Defeats Wyoming. Did they finally settle on a quarterback? Looks like it. It looks like it, the ACC. Let's go through this. Miami. Now, I got Miami number 2 on my let me show you my top 25. PATC top 25. I got the Miami Hurricanes as number 2. The Buckeyes, number 1. Miami, number 2. And Miami Hurricanes can beat you in so many different ways. This year, they can beat you in so many different ways. The offensive line, holy smokes. The defensive line, holy smokes. Carson Beck did not have a good day. But they can beat you in so many different... This is not Miami of last year. This is Miami of this year. This is Miami of 2025. They're going to be very tough out in the college football playoffs. They can run the table. They can. And Corey Heatherman, I knew Corey was going to be a success at Miami. I didn't think it would be this quick. I did not think it would be this quick. Maria Hernandez Garcia is in the house. Let me check. Of course he can. That's a yes, Maria. Of course you can. You can go out. You don't need to be stuck inside listening to the fat guy from Minnesota. Yes, you can go out. You are welcome. You are very welcome. Anyway, okay, let's get back to it. Miami, I could not be more impressed. Florida State whips up on Kent State. The Seminoles, my goodness. That Florida State-Miami game, woo! Thomas Castellanos versus that Miami defense. Let's go. Let's go. Georgia Tech 45-24. Georgia Tech, my goodness. And then Syracuse and Clemson. Let's circle back to that here. Louisville wins big. I think Duke actually had Duke 45-33 over North Carolina State. They upended the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack winning that game 3-0. Virginia wins big over Stanford. And California goes down 34-0 against San Diego State. That does not that's not good news for my beloved Golden Gophers. But let's get into the Syracuse-Clemson situation. I like Dabo Swinney. I know a lot of you don't like him. I like him. I think he's a hell of a head coach. He's had great success. But I don't think he understands the college football landscape as it sits today. You had to know going into the season that you needed help at the running back position. You had to know. And this is not a shot at Dabo Swinney. But you know what? You had great coordinators when you won those national championships. You have a different coaching staff now. You have a running backs coach. I mean, those guys are they're not coached up, or they can't get coached up. There's some serious issues at Clemson. This is not the same program. Dabo, I can see Dabo Swinney leaving Clemson after this year. I can. Taking a year off, coaching somewhere else in a couple of years. It looks like he's not willing to make adjustments. Clemson is an incredible football brand, an incredible program, an incredible fan base, and they've got a head coach who hasn't changed with the times, and they can't wait for it. I don't think Dabo's getting fired. He ain't going to get fired. But I do think a change is going to come. I think Dabo, if I had to make a prediction, just a prediction, speculation, Dabo is going to take a big media job for a year and then get back into coaching. I think he's going to try to figure out what this new college landscape is all about and either adjust to it or not coach again. I can't believe I'm saying this because he has been a spectacular head coach for Clemson. But something is not right. Right? Am I being unfair? Something is, they don't even have running backs. They do not have running backs, for the most part, who know how to pass block. They don't know where to line up. There's something going on. And they should have taken running backs in the portal. Gideon Davidson, he's not even, something is going on. I don't want to speculate anymore, but I don't know if the guys have given up. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Let's get into we did the Big 12, the ACC, and now we do the Big 10. Iowa, big road victory. We talked about that on Saturday. Oregon, of course, they win big, 41-7. And Dante Moore is so much more advanced than I thought he was going to be at this. He has blown my mind, man. Dante Moore is on a Heisman watch list, and he's going to keep moving up. Indiana 63, Illinois 10. I took Indiana in this game. You know how high I've been at Indiana this year. I think they're more talented this year than last. I've been saying that during the offseason. Fernando Mendoza is legit. That offense is legit. D'Angelo Pons, the great cornerback, is absolutely a superstar. They've got superstars. Kamara on the defensive line. Aiden on the linebacker. In the secondary. Quarterback. They got running backs who can catch the ball. Indiana is absolutely stacked. Now, can they make the college football playoffs? They think they can. They believe they can. I cannot blame them. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. They're going to have to somehow get by Michigan. They defeated Michigan last year. Michigan 30, Nebraska 27. Nebraska loses another close game at home. The Michigan Wolverines ran that ball, and they stopped the run. Matt Rule, you spent a lot of money on that offensive line, and they could not get the job done against Michigan. Can they get the job done against Spartans in 2 weeks from now? And Matt Rule, I got to say one more thing. Can you get yourself an RB1? Scott Frost never did it. Emmett Johnson, good running back. He's not an RB1. He's not a Big Ten RB1. Get yourself a game-changer running back for next year, and then you will watch Dylan Raiola become the superstar that he can be. But Nebraska, for whatever reason, I don't understand it, they never established RB1 in that program. Not for the longest time. Purdue goes down to Notre Dame 56-30. Michigan State loses 45-31. USC, I watched that game. I stayed up. That running attack from the Trojans, woo! Just like last year. Everybody talks about Lincoln Riley's great passing trees, passing game. The Trojans can run the ball. The Trojans can run that ball. And of course, they've got great receivers. Makai Lemon. The Trojans can score. It's all going to be about that defense. It's all going to be about that defense. If the Trojans can get an average defense by the middle of the year, maybe they can, the Trojans can make a run at the college football playoffs. But it's going to be difficult. Maryland 27, Wisconsin 10. We've talked about Wisconsin's issues. Not good. Luke Fickell is on the hot seat. And get a load of Maryland. Malik Washington, again, true freshman quarterback, did not have the greatest statistical game. But come on, guys. Maryland is investing in a true freshman quarterback. They're giving him all the reps. They're giving him all the snaps. They're giving him everything. This is an investment into the future. And by the way, as Maryland is investing in the future, they're 4-0. They're 4-0, and they just won a road victory against the Badgers that the Terrapins do not do. But they did it. They did it. Big win for the Terrapins. Washington, the one thing I will say about the Huskies, Demon Williams, the quarterback, my God, how good is this kid? How good is he? He is, Big Ten's got some great quarterbacks this year. My gosh, Washington Huskies roll up big, and now Washington will get into the meat of their schedule. Okay, now let's do the Southeastern Conference. And then we'll go and talk about the Big Ten expansion. Mark Coyle, what he had to say. I think you're going to find it very, very interesting. LSU 56-10. Florida, they battled. Florida battled. DJ Legway, again, he's either injured, hurt, or he's not any good. Because everything he does, he seems to have to put great effort towards. He just doesn't look any good. Now, he was against a great defense. I get it. But he hasn't looked good for a very long time. Miami Hurricanes 26, Florida 7. Texas rolls big. Oklahoma and Auburn. Oklahoma scored a touchdown that was a little sneaky. The wide receiver looked like he was going to go to the sidelines, but he stayed in bounds. And John Mateer find a wide open Oklahoma Sooner in the end zone. And the Sooners take down War Eagle. And the SEC said later on after the game that a penalty should have been called on Oklahoma. Controversial game. Oklahoma goes 4-0. Auburn, I don't think they lost much here. I think Auburn is gaining more and more respect. Ole Miss 45. They blow out Tulane 45-10. Tennessee 56. UAB 24. Vanderbilt 70. Georgia State 21. Missouri 29. South Carolina 20. If Bo Pabula, the quarterback in Missouri, can get to the next level of passing, he's almost there. He's a little shaky at times. A little shaky. But with his running ability, Ahmed Hardy's running ability, RB2 Roberts, his running ability, Missouri can run that ball down a whole lot of people's throats. Missouri is legit. Remember, I've got them making the college football playoffs. They were my predict. They the 11th seed. I've got them in the playoffs. They are legit. 29-20 over Carolina. Arkansas loses a tough one, and Memphis 32-31. Sam Pittman remains on the hot seat. I do not know how he survives. Mississippi State goes 4-0. They defeat Northern Illinois. And real quick, let's get this over. Let's get this over with. Let's go through our record of this week. John Till, thank you for the super chat. Was Dabo great, or did he have back-to-back top quarterbacks? When you win all those ACC championship games, when you win a couple of national championships, you are great. You did a great job as a head coach. Dabo Swinney recruited those quarterbacks, were able to get those quarterbacks in Clemson, develop those quarterbacks, and he won big game after big game after big game. Dabo Swinney's resume is great. The question is, so I say yes, that Dabo Swinney was great. The question is it too late for him to make the adjustments that he needs at Clemson? I think he can do it somewhere else. But I don't know if, I think, after a while, change of voice is needed. And I think it may be needed at Clemson. I don't know if they can get out of this hole. I think Dabo has made critical mistakes in the last few years. Critical mistakes. All right. So let's go through this real quick. And then we're going to talk about the article in the St. Pioneer Press here in Minnesota. Mark Coyle says some very direct statements about the future of Big Ten expansion. Arkansas, Memphis, I got it wrong. You all got it wrong. Maryland and Wisconsin, we both got this one correct. Maryland covers the spread. SMU, TCU. I got it wrong. You guys got it right. Utah, Texas Tech. I got it wrong. You guys got it wrong. Michigan and Nebraska. I took Nebraska plus 2.5. They lost by 3. I got it wrong. You guys got it correct. Tulane at Ole Miss. I got it wrong. You guys got it wrong. You see a trend here? Auburn versus Oklahoma. I took Auburn. I got it wrong. You guys took Oklahoma. You got it right. UCF versus North Carolina. I got it wrong. You guys got it right. And finally, I started winning some games. North Carolina State and Duke. I took Duke. I got it correct. You guys took North Carolina State. You got it wrong. West Virginia and Kansas. We both took Kansas. Got it right. South Carolina and Missouri. We both took Missouri. We got it wrong. Missouri only won that game by 9 points. We both took Miami. Got that correct. We both took Washington. We got that correct. I took East Carolina. You all took BYU. I got it wrong. You got it right. I took Indiana. You guys took Illinois. I got it right. You got it wrong. Woo! We both took California. They didn't even put up a point. What does that say for my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers? It does not say very good things, tell you that. Holy smokes. We both got it wrong. Michigan State at USC. I got it right. You got it right. Backdoor cover. Backdoor cover. Okay, so. Yours truly, Greg the Cooler, I went 7-10 against the spread. The PATC Gridiron Einsteins, you all went 10-7. My record against the spread this year is 28-35. The PATC Einstein's record against the spread is 28-35. I had a 3-game lead on you. I don't anymore. We both are at 28-35 for the season. Okay. We got rid of that. No more talking about that horrific week 4. Okay. Again, let's get back to the main story of today. Again, this is an unusual, very unusual aftermath show. Very unusual. Big Ten expansion in 2 days or 7 years. 7 years or 2 years. In 2 days or 2 years. Now, when I was reporting here at Peek Around the Corner about Oregon and Washington eventually going to become Big Ten members, I used the phrase day after day after day, live show after live show after live show. I would say within the next 5 years, within the next 5 months, or the next 5 years, Washington and Oregon are going to become Big Ten members. That was after USC and UCLA, which we broke the news on here at Peek Around the Corner. Show after show, we used the phrase, the next 5 months, within the next 5 months, or within the next 5 years. And we said it that way because we knew that there would have to be a few things that would have to happen for Washington and Oregon to become Big Ten members within the next 5 months. One of those, Kevin Warren would have to leave his commissionership, which he did. And then the Big 12 was going to have to be successful in poaching the Pac-12, which we thought they were going to be, and they did. That's now the reason I said, besides all of that the Big Ten that Washington and Oregon was going to become Big Ten members within the next 5 months or the next 5 years is because that was the language that was told to me over and over and over again. I took the language, a door was open to us at Peek Around the Corner. I reported to you all day after day after day after, and it happened, right? So the language of athletic directors saying in 2 days or in 2 years, the Big Ten will expand. That type of language, I'm just letting you all know, is not foreign to PATC. And it should not be foreign to you all, because that is the language I have used on the show many times before. Because timing has to do with so many other variables out there, and you don't control all those other variables. In my opinion, and we're going to go through the article here, very short article, but there's a lot to get to though. So please be patient, and then we're going to open up the phone lines. In my opinion, when I read this and everything else that I've heard, the Big Ten has gamed a lot of things out. They have talked to all these candidates. But the Big Ten is waiting on certain events. Events that the Big Ten does not control. So when they're gaming this out, when they're gaming out the candidates, they're also gaming out the timeline, just like they did with Oregon and Washington. They're gaming this out right now, the timing of it. But they don't control all the variables. Okay. Mark Coyle. Mark Coyle, Twin Cities Pioneer Press, Andy Greeter, great columnist, covers the Gophers and Minnesota United. Big time legit. Sports writer. Question and answer. Gophers Athletic Director Mark Coyle on budget deficit, revenue sharing, and Big Ten expansion. We're only going to go through the Big Ten expansion part of the article. It's going to go fast, but there's a lot to it. Again, I'm just going to say this. Mark Coyle is the most cautious athletic director you will ever run across. For him to say something like this, to be published on a Sunday morning, September 21st, is momentous. And I got to tell you, people are going to treat it as such. People eventually, I'm telling you right now, people are on the hunt. This has gotten out. This ain't going to be just, Greg Flugar. What do they call me? Gaslighting, whatever they say about me out there. This is going to be covered. More expansion. Budget forecast for the 2027 fiscal year include an expected uptick in revenue from the college football playoff. Money that goes to the Big Ten and then its members. The CFP field is expected to grow from its current structure of 12 teams to possibly 16 next year. Coyle also expects the Big Ten to expand at some point. The conference grew from 14 members to 18 in 2024, with the addition of Southern Cal, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. Our friends at Oregon and Washington wanted so badly to be in the Big Ten that they're getting half the media revenue. I mean, think about that. Coyle said, I think Minnesota is very well positioned. We are a charter member of the Big Ten. That goes back to, we'll get back. That doesn't have any meaning to this, but our friends at Oregon and Washington wanted so badly that they came in at a time where they could only get half the media revenue. What Coyle's telling everybody is that schools are knocking on the door. They want in to the Big Ten and to the SEC. And who knows, they may be willing to take less than full revenue. Now, I'm speculating here, but I got to tell you guys, that is what we've been hearing at Peek Around the Corner. Now, put it in this context. Here we go. Whether it's 2 days or 2 years, I do think there is going to be continued fluctuation because we are in this House settlement era for 2 months now. I can tell you, peers in the Big Ten are trying to find revenue, right? What are peers in, I think it was supposed to say, what are peers in their conferences trying to do right now? We have the best media deals in the country, so there's going to be movement. Mark Coyle, whether it's 2 days or 2 years, he could have easily said in 2 days or 5 years or 4 years or 3 years. He did not say that. Mark Coyle, who chooses his words very carefully, whether it's 2 days or 2 years, I do think there's going to be continued fluctuation. And he's not just, in my opinion now, he's not just talking about the Big Ten. He says continued fluctuation. I believe, I've got reasons to believe, I've said this almost every time we go into the Holy Smokes Theater. I have reasons to believe that the Big Ten believes that the Southeastern Conference is going to act within the next 16 months. And that has a lot to do with what is going on the ground in North Carolina and Virginia. And other reasons. So in that context, when I read this, whether it's 2 days or 2 years, I do think there's going to be continued fluctuation because we are in this House settlement era for 2 months now. Mark Coyle says we have the best media deals in the country, so there's going to be movement. And so ultimately, Coyle is talking about Big Ten expansion. For Mark Coyle to say this on a Sunday morning, September 21st, is really momentous. Mark Coyle does not talk. He does not say something that is not true, for sure. He's so careful with his words. Whether it's 2 days from now or 2 years, there's going to be more fluctuation, expansion. I believe that is the timeline that we are working with. I have expressed it over and over and over again. I think the Southeastern Conference is going to move. Now, some people think maybe when they read that, maybe the Big Ten moves first. I don't think so. I could end up being wrong, but I don't think so. Unless Notre Dame says, okay, we're going to give up independence, or if North Carolina calls and says, we're going to join the Big Ten. I think those are the only two options for the Big Ten to move first. Other than that, I think the Big Ten is going to wait and act whenever the SEC acts. And I do think the Southeastern Conference is going to act. And I happen to think they're going to act big. Now, if you take, okay, so he's nothing, he's the complete opposite of bombastic. So, let's say, for example, let's just play along with me here. Let's say Mark Coyle said this because it's ultimately the truth. He knows it. There's a lot of socializing. We're beyond socializing about it. Something is cooking in the Big Ten. He knows something is cooking in the Southeastern Conference. Whether it's 2 days from now or 2 years, there's going to be more fluctuation. There's going to be movement. We've got the best media deal in the country. He brings up Oregon and Washington, right? He brought up Oregon and Washington as coming in at half share because they were so desperate to come in. Is Mark Coyle painting a picture of Big Ten expansion before the end of the current media contract, just like Washington and Oregon, where the teams that come in to the Big Ten for at least a couple of years take on a half share? Could that be part of the plans? And then they renegotiate with Fox and whoever wants to come on board, and they renegotiate with the new members planning on getting full shares. Could that be part of the plan? Is that what we're seeing here? Is that why I've also had to report to you all that there are programs, certain institutions that are being mighty aggressive and saying, well, we'll take care of ourselves. We will do a half share. We'll take 50 cents on the dollar for the remaining part of this current contract. Is this all tying in together? Is this the scenario that we're looking at? I got to tell you, one of the things that I'm getting most suspicious of is the exact number of schools that the Big Ten are going to expand with. I keep thinking they're going to do a small scoop. I keep thinking they're going to go to 20. Right? I keep thinking they're going to go to 20. It's easy, right? A good number to work with. But I'm wondering if that's going to be accurate. Because you remember when Jim Smith, the Maryland athletic director, said in an interview when asked what are the number of Big Ten schools in 2030? Give us a number, and he said 20. All right, that sounds good to me, right? Sounds logical. But then the great Brett McMurphy goes on Wasserman and Andy Staples' show, and he says, and I'm paraphrasing, but Brett McMurphy says, I'm surprised he said 20. I thought he would say 20 to 24. And then, so Brett McMurphy, who knows? Brett McMurphy might be expecting a little bit bigger Big Ten expansion, or at least a possibility. And then, and Brett McMurphy comes out with a big Big Ten expansion list. I came out with my own Big Ten expansion list earlier last week. There were 10 schools on there, as we've noted before. I am all but sure. How do I say this? Yeah, I'm gonna, the Big Ten expansion list, from what I know, from what we've been told, is pretty big. And I completely 100% believe, for many different reasons, not just one reason, that North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, Duke, Georgia Tech, Kansas, Utah are on that list. And one more thing before we get to your phone calls. Earlier last week, Super Chat, Mowing After Dark. Tough week coming up for the Big Ten Pacific Northwest schools. Buckeyes will beat the Huskies by 2 touchdowns. Wow. Oregon Ducks will get edged out by Penn State. Big Ten Classic, better, bigger than the new B1G. Wow, those are some great games. Wow. Fantastic football games. And don't forget about my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers versus Rutgers. Yeah. Man, those are some great football games. Wow. We're going to be talking about those games. Tell you that. Thank you, Mo and After Dark. Thank you for your generosity. I very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. Now, earlier last week, I talked about, we had to add on Kansas and Utah to the expansion list. 99% of you understood exactly what we reported. That was the expansion list. There was another 1% of people out there that said, Greg Pflugar has announced that Kansas is going to the Big Ten. Greg Pflugar has announced that Utah is going to the Big Ten. And I don't know why that 1% of people, I don't know what they're listening to. They make things up, they lie, whatever. But 99% of you understood what I meant by that list. That is the candidates list. As far as we're concerned at Peek Around the Corner. Other people are going to put California, Stanford in there. Arizona State, Colorado, and maybe a few others. For right now, I do not have them on the list. Okay? I added Kansas and Utah. Not to say that they're going to end up in the Big Ten, but to say that they are legitimately on the candidates list. We at Peek Around the Corner, and now I get it. A lot of you are going to say Greg doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. It can't possibly be true. Okay, that's fine. You can have that opinion. But I'm telling you, we did not add Kansas and Utah lightly. Okay? We did not do that lightly. It wasn't like I ran up in and said, oh, that's not how it's done. So, there's a possibility that there is not a Big Ten small scoop. Like, there's a I'm starting to believe more and more that there could be a Big Ten expansion of 4 schools and not just 2. Possible. And the reason I say that is because of the many, many factions within the Big Ten. The voting blocks. How do we get to 13 votes? And there is this Big Ten, there is this part in the Big Ten that believes in expansion. That believes in they're not going to dilute their value. That they're going to go international. The Big Ten brand is going to mean a lot more in 15 years from now than it does even now. And the Southeastern Conference is looking at it the same way. And so is the Big 12. The Big Ten is looking at expansion being a monster conference. Not just in money, but in universities. And to get the 13 of the 18 votes, you might have to get those votes, there's going to be some horse trading. The conference is not only big, it's 18 members, but they're all huge, most of them, and they have different interests, research interests, sports interests, geography. And I think the Buckeyes, the Nittany Lions, are going to get what they want. They're going to get what they want. And that is a flag in the southeastern part of the... They're going to get additions in the southeastern part of this country. But to do that, there may have to be an addition west of the Mississippi. This is something that we've only started really hearing about a couple of weeks ago. So the Buckeyes and the Penn State Nittany Lions who acquiesced to the additions of Oregon and Washington, who are basically calling the shots, more or less, when it comes to the next Big Ten expansion, may want to put their Big Ten flag in the city of Atlanta, in the city of Miami, some interest in Duke. To get that accomplished, there may have to be an addition west of the Mississippi. And if that is needed, then the Big Ten is going to go beyond 20 schools. And I think the Big Ten would choose to go beyond 20 schools versus not going to 20 schools. I think the Big Ten has made the decision that they are going to expand. Look at Mark Coyle's own words here. Mark Coyle is telling everybody the Big Ten is going to expand. And he would not say that unless they got something cooking. Not Mark Coyle. So it's just more evidence. It's just more evidence. I think the Big Ten would rather go past 20 than stay at 18. If that is their options, to go past 20 or stay at 18, they're going past 20. Now, I am not sitting here and saying for sure they're going past 20. I'm not doing that. They may go to 20 and stop for now. But I think the chances of the Big Ten going past 20 is growing. You look at, if you look at the little bit of evidence that we have, the information we keep receiving, it's almost all adding up to that. Maybe not quite yet. And then they'll be able to come in at half share, some of the schools, and we may be looking at a Southeastern Conference big scoop in a Big Ten big scoop. We may be looking at that. Which is, for me, would have been something that I would not have said 3 weeks ago, a month ago. But this Kansas-Utah thing, that's legit. There are people in the Big Ten that want Utah. There are people in the Big Ten that wants Kansas. And by the way, Iowa is part of the Penn State, Ohio State voting bloc. Iowa doesn't vote with Northwestern, Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin for the most part. Iowa did not want to add in Oregon and Washington. Iowa did not want Amazon to be part of the media package. But does Iowa want Utah? Does Iowa want Kansas? Is that something that they can, part of that voting block with Ohio State and Penn State? And then I'm just going to throw that out there. We go back to Notre Dame, right? And then I'll go to the phone lines. I'll go back to Notre Dame real quick here. Notre Dame, sitting here, if there truly is a SEC big scoop, and then a Big Ten big scoop, can Notre Dame still survive as a football independence? I've asked that question many times. I don't think they can. Are we looking at a bigger wave of disruption than we've ever thought before? Mark Coyle, whether it's 2 days or 2 years, I do think there's going to be continued fluctuation. What are peers in the other conferences trying to do right now? We have the best media deals in the country, so there's going to be movement. He did not give the option of whether it's 2 days or 3 years, 2 days or 4 years, 2 days or 5 years, whether it's 2 days or 2 years. A guy who chooses his words very carefully. Thank you so much, Bill G. Sent 5 gifted memberships. Joel Hill, Colorado Buffalo, Leslie Hill, Daryl Captain 63, Joe Atkinson, all of you are knighted officially. Cloak and Dagger, members of this channel. Please, when you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Bill G for his gifted memberships. Bill G, thank you so much for your generous You've been doing this for weeks and months and years. All these gifted memberships, thank you so very much. I'm very humbled by your continued generosity. Thank you so very much. We are going to open up the phone lines. You can talk about Mark Coyle. You can talk about what he just said, whether it's 2 days or 2 years. We happen to believe that Mark Coyle did not say that by accident. We believe the timeline is much sooner than 99% of the college football reporters want to believe and want to tell you and what they can report to you. We believe the timetable is moved up tremendously. And we think the odds of a bigger scoop in the Big Ten has grown.
Call from
Rick?
Rick, the floor is yours. Let it rip, sir.
Wow, Mark Coyle speaks less publicly than Tony Petitti.
Yes, he's Tony Petitti, but more quieter. That is why, and I'm just going to interrupt you, and I'll let you have the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna put this to you straight, okay? You might think I'm overreacting. That's fine, but I'm not. This is already this morning causing waves because Mark Coyle said it. If it was the other 17 athletic directors, people would pass on by and say, "Oh, that's interesting." Mark Coyle said this. He doesn't say anything. That this people are taking this seriously, and you are going to have evidence of that later, sooner or later. Someone's going to say something other than the fat guy from Minnesota saying it. Bookmark it. Bookmark that. Okay? Rick, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe Tony and the gang took the recommendation I suggested there a month ago to go out and give North Carolina and Virginia their best offer, ultimatum with a deadline on it. You know, maybe a 30-day deadline. This is it, and then we're moving on. And they're going to get an answer from North Carolina, we can't do it, or for whatever. And okay, we're moving on. And just like you did with Notre Dame, no hard feelings.
Yeah.
We're here for you if you need us, but we're moving on. Because that gives you the power to go back to the schools and say, in the Big Ten,
here's the thing.
We
okay,
gave
now this
them
is
the best offer possible, and they turned it down. Let's go.
Okay, so this is speculation on my part, okay? Everybody, I know some people are going to say, "Oh, Greg's reporting this." Rick, this is pure 100% speculation on my part, okay? So you can say, "Greg, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say." Okay, I won't have any problem with it. I am starting, one of the reactions that I had when I read this, and by the way, here in Minnesota, the people that I talked to, BTM and his associates, this is blowing up everywhere because they all know Mark Coyle personally and whatever. This means something, okay? I'm wondering, Rick. I got a feeling, again, 100% speculation, that maybe the Big Ten almost positively they know what North Carolina and Virginia are going to do. So that is why this, what someone would consider sped up timeline, is coming into play. Because if they know what North Carolina and Virginia is going to do, and they know the timeline, they think they know the timeline of North Carolina and Virginia is going to do, and it's going to coincide with the best time for them to lead the conference, which monetarily is later, but other reasons it's earlier. Now Mark Coyle, because it's been socialized so much in the Big Ten, they're saying now that's why he said 2 days or 2 years. In other words, they might have their answer from North Carolina and Virginia somehow, some way. Again, 100% speculation on my part. Go ahead, sir.
I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think it makes absolutely perfect sense. Perhaps they have insider information, but that's a good example of why they would want to move along also quickly. And when I say quickly, announcing today that people are moving in 2027 is typical. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma announced 3 years early. It's no big deal if you've got all the bows tied, everything locked up, announcing it in 25, what people are doing in 27. And in fact, for the people that are moving into the Big Ten in 27, it gives them extreme, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but monetary boost from boosters, from fans, from everybody that surrounds them. Hey, we're Utah. We're going to the Big Ten. Hey, Kansas, we got a new stadium and we're going to the Big Ten. If they announce it in 25, happening in 27, they get that whole 2-year ride of pumping up their coffers. I think.
Here's another thing I wanna put at you, Rick. Here, if you would have called me yesterday, Rick, and said, if Mark Coyle, if he was speculating, if he had an interview, and if he was putting a range of time for the next Big Ten expansion, Greg, what would your guess would have been for Mark Coyle to say something? And I would have guessed, because Mark Coyle is an incredibly cautious person, I would have said Mark Coyle would say whether it's 2 years from now or 4 years from now, right? I think he would have said something like that. He said whether it's 2 days or in 2 years. I do think there's going to be continued fluctuation. I've spent a lot of time talking about this 2 years thing, right? In the next 16 months. Mark Coyle said whether it's 2 days or 2 years. Like, it's even more aggressive. It's like, again, 100% speculation on my part, Rick. But for Mark Coyle to say that phrase and all the other phrases in that article, they must have really, they must be, I'm not saying they got the finger on the trigger, but they've got the ammunition loaded up. I don't know what the analogy I'm supposed to use here, but they.
Well, I think what happens is even with the 2 days, if the announcement were in 3 days about leaving in 27, that still allows all of the ACC schools to have their exit fee reduced until 27. You know how it drops down 40 million a year. But you still gain by having it out there on the street. Hey, this is the future. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
There's just a ton of money. I mean, you can already start printing the Florida State shirts with a Big Ten logo on it, or the Georgia Tech or Miami, whatever. You can't sell them till well, you could probably sell them early. I don't know what the rules are on that.
Yeah.
But for recruiting purposes and everything else, hey, kid, come to Georgia Tech and play in the Big Ten. come to Kansas and play in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it. And the only other question.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a question. One quick one regarding your. Don't ask what your conference can do for you. Ask what you can do for your conference.
Yeah.
What's that about?
You know what? I will get into that Monday. I keep promising. You know what? I'll get into it right now, Rick. I'll get into it right now. Okay?
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
All right. Appreciate it. Because that fits into what we're talking about. We'll get into it right now. Thank you so much. Great phone call. I'm going to take the phone off the hook for a second here. Hold on. Let me, I got to find this. Hold on, everybody. We're doing a little bit of an audible here. I'm going to bring up what we talked about in an early peak Cloak and Dagger episode, number 60 of last week. If you're a member of a program, there are times you will receive a little bit of information before everybody else does. That's what we did last week. I'm going to talk about it. Oh my goodness, what did I just do? Hold on. Give me a moment. Okay, let me see if I can find this thing here. Before we get into that, before we get into what Rick just asked about, one more aspect to this. My question is, and I have this morning, when I saw this Mark Coyle article come out, his comments, in other things that I've heard and in other, I have started asking people, what would it take? What we know what it would take for a Florida State to leave the ACC 18 months from now. We know what it would take for Clemson to leave the ACC a year from now. We know what it would take Georgia Tech, what Georgia Tech would need to do to leave the ACC 2 years from now. We know what it would take for Miami, for Duke. The question I have is, what would it take for Utah, for Kansas, for an Arizona State, for an Arizona, for a Colorado? What would it take the Big 12 schools if they could potentially receive an invite from the Big 10? What would it take for a Big 12 school to leave the Big 12 to make an announcement within the next 2 years? What are the legal ramifications? What is the Big 12 Gore ramifications? What is the exit fee ramifications? Would the Big 12 have to take a check from what would it need for Kansas or Utah or any other Big 12 school to leave the Big 12 before, let's say, the 2029 academic season? What would it take? Because I gotta be honest with you. I do not know. But I have asked the question to more than one person in more than one perch. Just in case there is more possible steam or percolation from a bigger Big Ten scoop than I thought was going to happen, in that it would include a university west of the Mississippi, a university added on to whatever's going to happen in the Southeastern Conference. I've asked that question. If in the chat room, if anybody has an answer to that, go ahead and put it or give me a call. Right now, I do have the phone off the hook because I want to get into this. This is what we talked about on an early peak Cloak and Dagger episode last week. Tulane Athletic Director David Harris, during an appearance at the Greater New Orleans Quarterback Club, touched on several topics, including conference realignment. Harris noted that it was last year at this time that we were in a position that we and some other schools within the conference had been approached by the Pac-12 about potential membership. And so we went through that whole process and ultimately came to the conclusion that that wasn't the direction that we wanted to go. But it's one of the questions that I get most frequently. How can we get into a Power 4 conference? Are you going to get us into a Power 4 conference? How is all that going to happen? And one of the things that you learn going through that process is so much of this is determined by the strength of your football program, right? And so the better you are in football, the more opportunities you're going to have in that space. Harris, the athletic director of Tulane, also explains that it used to be a time where if you're going to go to be pursued to change conferences, that if you had a conference of 12 and you were going to be a 13th member, that they were going to cut you in the distribution. And while that is still happening, you're seeing it actually happen in different ways. Now that in conferences, especially the Power 4, are looking to see what kind of offer you can make to join their conference. In other words, for how long can you give up taking money from the conference? How can you make it attractive for us to bring you in? What offer can you make to the conference? In other words, it's not just your research. It's not just your market. It's not just how well your football program's been doing. It's not just your merchandise sales. It's just not your endowment. It's not just your viewership number. What kind of offer are you going to make us? Tulane Athletic Director is saying, especially in the Power 4. In other words, the Tulane Athletic Director, look, they turned down the Pac-12 overtures. Tulane Green Wave is looking to become a backfill after the ACC implosion. A backfill to the ACC, or possibly perhaps a backfill to the Big 12. But either way, Tulane knows that to get that ACC invitation, to get that Big 12 invitation, they're going to have to offer something more than just themselves. They might have to come in at 30 cents on the dollar, like California and Stanford. They might have to do something that Memphis tried to do with the Big 12. Again, it's not what your conference can do for you, but it's what you can do for your new conference. What can you offer? You're going to be able to say, look, we'll take, we're only going to take 30 cents on the dollar for the next 5 years in your media contract. And that goes back to what we're just talking about with Mark Coyle. Mark Coyle made it known here. He made it known, look, our friends at Oregon and Washington, they wanted so badly to be in the Big Ten, they're getting half the media revenue. He reminded everybody of that. And then he says, whether it's 2 days or 2 years, I do think there's going to be continued fluctuation. I can tell you peers in the Big Ten are trying to find revenue, right? What are the peers in the other conferences trying to do right now? We have the best media deals in the country, so there's going to be movement. Big Ten are looking at schools that might come in during midway through a current media contract. Some schools that are willing to come in at 50 cents on the dollar. Again, I'm just speculating. But that seems to be the reality right now. Oregon and Washington were willing to come in at 50 cents on the dollar. If the Big Ten expands in 2 years from now, are there any athletic departments, any universities that are willing to come in at 50 cents on the dollar for the next couple of years until the Big Ten can renegotiate their new contract? When Mark Coyle says, whether it's 2 days or 2 years, I do think there's going to be more continued fluctuation. There's going to be movement. Does Mark Coyle anticipate a couple of schools, maybe 3, maybe 4, coming in at 50 cents on the dollar? We've also talked about how when you get to the end of the media contract, when you are negotiating a new media contract, when a conference like the Big Ten and the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12, when you enter into the exclusive negotiating window of your current media partners, that is when the conference has the most leverage in negotiations. Earlier in the current media contract, the leverage goes to the media companies. So that is why, follow me here, that is why most college football reporters are going to report that they expect the next Big Ten expansion to be around 2030, 2029, because that is when the conference has the most leverage. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. Except if there are programs willing to come in at 50 cents on the dollar, it starts to make sense that the Big Ten could, should, would expand in the middle of their current media contract and then use the value of those schools and everybody else to negotiate with Fox and potentially new media partners in 2029, 2030. That is just one reason why I think the timeline is not 2030, 2029. I keep saying there's multiple reasons for it. But I think really one of the big ones is the Southeastern Conference. They really, 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 really want North Carolina and Virginia. The presidents do. And to secure North Carolina, Virginia, the quicker they act, the better off they are. And I think, again, this is 90% speculation. This next comment is 90% speculation. I think that the Big Ten knows that. It's not 90% speculation. It's 30% speculation. The Big Ten, there's lots of reasons why this is going to be sped up, in my opinion. And everything Mark Coyle said in this article, it hits home to everything else we are hearing. And for Mark Coyle to actually say this, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I got a feeling you're in for a very busy week, Greg. Thank you for the $2 holla. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Expedition Greg. Thank you so very much. Okay, we're going to open up the phone lines again here. Phone lines are open again. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give me a call. Talk about anything, college football that your heart desires. I thought Oregon and Washington had to take half shares because the networks won't pay full freight. There was no reasons for the media companies to pay full freight. Remember, they already had negotiated the contracts.
From Evil Badger.
The Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, is on the line. Go ahead, Ryan Willie. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for taking my call. The mood around the Madison and Milwaukee area about Fickle is a lot of people believe that Wisconsin will not win another game this year. And it's time to move on from him right now.
All right.
And I do have to correct you on one statement you made after you read my super chat earlier.
Got it.
McIntosh fired Paul Christ after the Illinois game in 2022.
Oh.
That was game 5.
Okay. My apologies.
So it can happen. I just think that it's really not wise for McIntosh to come out and give him a vote of confidence right now, especially when there's a fire fickle chance at halftime that are only going to get worse. And they got this week, they got a bye week this week, and then they play Michigan on the 4th. Homecoming is against Iowa on the 11th.
Yeah.
And I think they should both go. McIntosh has not done very well as an athletic director. And this is his one big hire that he thought that would turn the program around. And every podcast that I watched yesterday and even today, all the podcasters want Fickle gone. They don't think he can do it.
Now, it is more difficult for a weakened athletic director to do that firing, though, right? This is Luke Fickell was a McIntosh hire. McIntosh fired the previous head coach. So this is much more difficult for McIntosh to fire Luke Fickell midway through the season. Wouldn't you agree on that?
Yes, but McIntosh might be on the chopping block too.
Okay, so he might get fired, and then whoever the interim athletic director might fire Luke Fickell. That's a possibility.
Possibly.
Yeah.
The Camp Randall was pretty much emptied out by right after the jump around between the third and fourth quarter. Under the games anymore.
Hey, Ryan Willie, let me ask you a question.
Oh,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Who is, besides Leipold, who would be your top target for the new head coach of Wisconsin? Just push away Lance Leipold for a moment. Who would be the second top target for Wisconsin's head coach?
Well, I thought I mentioned it a couple days ago. Gruden.
Oh, okay. I keep forgetting that. Okay. John Gruden.
Yes. He's got a connection to the state,
Yeah.
being a former quarterback coach for the Packers. And he has said that he wanted to coach college football.
Yeah.
And I just don't see Fickell being able to turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he let Billy Edwards play for just a few snaps,
Yeah.
and then he had to take him out.
Yeah. That's
He
tough.
said earlier in the week that he had to protect Billy from himself. He didn't do that.
Yeah. That's tough.
All right. Well, that's all I had, Greg. I'll let someone else call in. All right.
All right, man.
Bye.
I got it. Appreciate it. Beautiful call, sir. A lot of anguish at Madison. Badger fans are hoping. Badger fans are hoping that Luke Fickell gets fired during the season. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see. We'll see. We shall see. It's a tough year for Wisconsin. Tough year when they have a tough schedule. The program seems to be sliding. McIntosh, the athletic director, made the hire for Luke Fickell.
Call from
Wild Ute.
Wild Ute is on the line. The floor is yours.
Voice is still a bit. I'm doing great. The voice is still a little bit gone from the game yesterday.
I bet.
I got in trouble a little bit during the game, the Texas Tech Utah game, because the guy sitting right next to me, he had never been to Utah Stadium before, and he was an older gentleman, probably in his 80s, right?
Yeah.
And I told him before the game, I'm like, sir, like, just heads up, I am a pretty loud fan and everything. And he looked at me with a smile. Halfway through the game, he looked at me like I'm some psycho. Like, what are you doing all the time? It was nuts. Fun game. Sucks Utah lost, but hey, this is a fun conversation that we're having too. It's reviving the spirits a little bit.
Yeah.
The hopeful spirits that the Utes can get their way into the Big Ten Conference, which obviously for Utah has to be the end goal. We've talked about that a billion times, Greg. I think for any Big 12 school that the end goal is trying to get into the SEC or the Big Ten Conference. So it's interesting conversation to hear. And you posed a question too during the live show, saying like how much like what kind of costs are you probably looking at for a school like Kansas or Utah to get out of the Big 12?
That is the question that needs to be answered.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. And I just started doing some math after you asked that question, right? So I was just breaking out, like looking at the rights deals that all the teams have signed in the Big 12. It's pretty much that ESPN Fox agreement, right? That media agreement that's boiling out to roughly $32 million per school. And based on timelines that you and I both think for like realignment, like we're talking like getting into a new conference in 2028 or 2029 season.
Yep.
The Big 12 currently has a 6-year contract that started this year, goes to 2030
Yep.
academic year.
Yep.
And if you do the clean math on that and you do the adjusted math on that, it's kind of saying that if Utah were to, if a Big Ten invite were to come, and the strike year would be to jump into Big Ten in the 2028 season.
Yep.
So that means there would be 3 years left on the Big 12 deal by the time Utah jumped.
Okay.
Let's just say that as a hypothetical. But the exit fees for that media contract, if you do all the deep math on it, it's roughly $95 million. That's what I'm getting to. Around $95 million. If you adjust that out, you could do a high-low. Maybe they negotiate it down to $70 million. Maybe on the high range is $120 million. But you can say
and that's
approximately $100 million.
And that's what it would be for the ACC schools, right about there, in 28.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Right.
Basically, like in that same type of territory.
Yeah. Now.
So really, so go ahead. Yeah.
Well, my question is though, the money is one part of it, but the legality is the other. In other words, let's just say it's $95 million. Okay.
Okay.
And let's say Utah got the call, or some other Big 12 school, but let's just say Utah for the making it simple here. And they got the call from the Big 10. Utah filed a notice of withdrawal. Let's say, I don't know what the notice of withdrawal stuff is in the Big 12, but let's say they do it in 2027, or they do it in time to where on July 1st of 2028, they can join the Big 10. And let's pretend that it is $95 million.
Okay.
So Wild Ute, talking to his wife, pulls out the checkbook, and Wild Ute puts down $95 million to the Big 12. And you walk into the Big 12 headquarters, and you walk up to Brett Yormark with the Utah president and athletic director, and you say, we're filing a notice of withdrawal. Here is the letter. And by the way, we're giving this letter to every other Big 12 presidents, because I think that has to be done per the Big 12 bylaws. And here's a $95 million check. Does the Big 12 have to accept the check? That would be my next question.
Yeah. I don't know how they wouldn't accept the check, especially after all the ACC litigation after Texas left. I know that at the time that when Utah joined, you and I have talked about this before. Like, I think I called in and talked about it like a while back and everything. Utah tried to negotiate some stuff when they first got into the conference to try to let it be easier to exit the conference. I don't know. I'll need to dig deeper into that to understand that again. But I think that they could get out. There's no way the Big 12 could hold the feet to the fire for 3 years. Utah would be able to get out, especially after all this ACC saga where they've got a media deal to 2036. Like, you're talking at that time, 3 years left on a media deal. How are they going to hold you to the fire? There's no chance. And so if Utah wants out, if they've got a Big 10 invite, they're gone. And there's nothing the Big 12 can do about it. I just don't think so. Maybe tack on a little bit of extra fees, but at what risk to your conference? The Big 12's trying to get stability too, and if the Utes were trying to get out of the conference and they're holding the feet to the fire, what does that do for the Big 12? Nothing. It just it puts them in a weak position. So Utah, if they get Greg, and we both know this, Utah would almost accept nothing to join the Big 10 conference.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Yeah.
We're talking about 50%. How low do you want?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, it's just a fact of reality and stuff. Just to clear, I've said this before, calling in your show before. I got to be very honest about it.
Yeah.
We know the administration and the fan base and stuff have struggled to integrate. Some of the games are really cool, really fun and everything, but still not the best fit for Utah. I wish I was joking about this, but Utah had a bunch of gear for their inaugural Big 12 season last year and stuff with Utah, affiliated logos with Big 12 logos, and they can't sell that stuff. Nobody in Utah wants to be affiliated with the Big 12 conference. That's never going to change. And so, when Utah joined the Pac-12, you saw a freaking Pac-12 sticker on every dang car, Greg. It was insane. Everything was Pac-12 logo and stuff. And like now in the Big 12 world and stuff, every BYU fan is a Big 12 logo. They're obsessed with the Big 12. They love the Big 12 and stuff. Totally makes sense. It's way better than independence and everything. But Utah, they don't belong still. And so if the Big 10 came calling and invited Utah for any dollar amount, nothing. I don't care if it's $0 and stuff. But what it would do for the university, what it would do for the fan base, for the new juice, the new matchups, the historical matchups with USC would be a 100 times fold increase for the Utes. So I don't give a crap about any media rights. What it would do for the university to get in the Big Ten conference, pay us zero forever. It doesn't matter. I'm serious about that. And I think that Duke realizes that too. Pay us zero forever. We'll get, if the Big Ten comes calling, the boosters will come out and step up. 100%. So like the Big 12 is not holding anything back. If the Big Ten wants it, Utah wants it, it's going to get done.
All righty, sir.
Yep.
I appreciate the call. I do have to give you a call on something else. Anyway, I'm gonna get a hold of you here in a little bit. Are you available?
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, but I do appreciate the call, my man.
Okay. See you later.
You got it.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Beautiful. Look, and just to make. And when we announced that Utah and Kansas were on the candidates list, we did not do it lightly, and we also did not say that Utah is going to be part of the Big Ten or Kansas is going to be part of the Big Ten, or we're not reporting that at all. But they are on the candidates list, and we've also given the reasons why. And none of them have to do with what the comments are being made in the comments section. Like, because Utah lost to this team or whatever. You're not the right fit because you can't win a Big 12 home game. Or none of that has anything to do with it. It has to do with the fact that Utah is favored by some of those Big Ten Western editions, including USC. Utah is an emerging research university. Utah is an untapped market, which we talked about what an untapped market is. Utah, BYU, but Utah demographics is buy, and the national advertisers love it. And we got in this political situation that is going on in the Big Ten. If there needs to be a Western edition, Utah is in the mix. But again, we did not report that Utah is going to be part of the Big Ten. We have not said that, even though people like to. And by the way, I don't know, Leslie Hill. Thanks, Greg. So what happened to Notre Dame? And one guy even said A&M. I have never talked about A&M. The only time I ever talk about Texas A&M to the Big Ten is when I say it's not going to happen. So I don't know what that means. Notre Dame, of course, I believe someday is going to be in the Big Ten. So nothing has happened in Notre Dame. Hopefully that answers that question. Utah won't be leaving the Big 12. The Big 10 doesn't want them. Big 12s keep doing business. Stop creating drama where there is none. Utah can go back to the Mountain West. Utah has been a cancer to every conference it's been. Morris Simmons is in the house. We never back down from competition, period. All right, guys. I want to thank the people who have donated to this channel today to help us keep the lights on. Expedition Greg, Bill G, Mowing After Dark, John Till, Ryan, Willie, and Heartbreak 25. Thank you, Wild Jude and Rick, and for the phone calls. I appreciate everybody joining us on a Sunday afternoon during NFL football. This was week 4 aftermath. Week 4 aftermath. But we had to do it a little different today. We had to talk about Mark Coyle, the Gophers athletic director, talking about more Big Ten expansion. Our friends at Oregon and Washington wanted so badly to be in the Big Ten, they're getting half the media revenue. And then he says, whether it's 2 days or 2 years, I do think there's going to be continued fluctuation. And at the end, he says, we have the best media deals in the country, so there's going to be more movement. Mark Coyle, the most cautious athletic director in the Big Ten, and it's not even close. Says there's going to be more movement. He says whether it's 2 days or in 2 years, more fluctuation. Buckle up, brace for impact. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. And when you subscribe, please turn on your notifications because we can come on live at any time. Morning, in the afternoon, at night, late night, midnight. We've done it all here at Peek Around the Corner. So please subscribe and turn on the notifications. Starting tomorrow, Monday, September 21st, starting tomorrow, buckle up, brace for impact. We are going to be talking about the Week 5 games, and there are some epic Week 5 games. We're going to continue to follow the college football playoff format discussion. We are going to continue to follow what is going on in the Holy Smokes Theater when it comes to the ACC drama and now potentially the Big 12 drama. Because we do know here at Peek Around the Corner, there is at least 2 Big 12 schools on the Big 10 expansion list. Look, Brett McMurphy says there's 5 Big 12 schools on the expansion list. So if you disagree with Kansas and Utah, what Brett McMurphy says Kansas, Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado. Yeah, the expansion list is big. The Big Ten is going to be expanding. And according to Mark Coyle, it's going to be sooner rather than later. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so